So thank you very much and welcome to this evening's Zoom, the second, part two, you might like to call it, of our Zoom sessions for parents. An opportunity for us to catch up with you and to share a little bit of an update on where we're at, and take any of your questions that you might have that come up during the session through the chat. If you're happy to type those in, we'll try and field those as we go. But just to introduce ourselves, so my name is Claire Adams and I'm Deputy Head at Ringwood School. My colleague who are joining me tonight, Sam, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Sam Ossoff, I'm Head of Year 8.
Thank you, Sam. And Louise.
Good evening, everybody. Louise Warnell, Assistant Head. I'm going to be talking to you about the teaching and learning we've been setting.
And Rachel.
Good evening, I'm Rachel Heaver-Webb, Assistant Head Teacher for Assessment. I'm going to talk to you about progress checks.
And finally, Leanne.
Very good evening to everyone. Nice to see so many people here. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm Leanne Simmons and I'm Head Teacher.
Okay, so we'll just start off by having a look at some of the work that we have posted. So just a reminder for you that the next round of work can be found on our school website under Academic and the Student Remote Learning. This allows you the opportunity to see the work as well. It's in PDF format so that you can see it on any device that you might have. For Year 8, it's here under the Year 8 section, and it's the work to complete summer term 2. And you can see that this work again is quite similar in its format to the previous, with all of the different subjects being covered, and the students can follow the link, and then slightly more condensed in its nature here, but allowing for students to find the work specifically in their team's assignments, which I'm just going to show you in a moment. And Louise will talk to you and we'll show you this again to just show you some of the different elements on here that's going to help you with the teaching and learning element, and also the chance for your children to do some extension tasks, particularly over and above the work that's been set if they're completing early, but we'll come back to that. So just an opportunity for you to see where that is on our school website. So also just to remember on the website that the students can find the new learning zone, their email, and this home access portal, which allows them to access their documents as if they were in school. So if they need to save anything or get anything, they can do that there as well. So that's the one-stop shop really for all of the work that we're posting and have done for this next 7 weeks for the students to be getting on with as they go. So just another thing that I'd like to show you if I can, and that is in the teams, and just a show of where they can find the work. So the team is the most important place for them to go on a daily basis. And if I just show you one of my classes here, you can see that in the post, the general messages, the different work, and I teach computer science, so I only teach once a week. So there's one assignment per week that goes out to students. We just come onto the post page and the students can see very clearly the week it is for. We're trying to encourage all of our colleagues to make sure that it's very well labelled, and that if there are any external resources or if there are any videos they want them to watch or any files, that they are all linked also in either the detail on the posts or within the assignment. If I click view assignment, the students can see what's been set for them, and they can have a look at that, see the PowerPoint that's there for them, and then they can use the document to put their work on for that particular piece of work. So that is the one place that we would like students to be going. Now this can be an app that they download. You can download the Teams app, so you don't have to go to it through our website. You can have it on a device, and you can have the alert set so that the activities come on the little bell here. So every time an assignment lands for them, or there's a post that's relevant to their class, it will appear here and they can see that quite quickly and easily. And we are encouraging teachers to put everything onto the post for the team so that it's less confusing for the students. That's feedback we've taken from the last half term to try and streamline the process for them as much as we possibly can. Now, there are some video lessons going on, but not lots, because obviously staff are working remotely as well. And so we are supporting them in having video lessons for particularly years 10 and 12, where you can appreciate with GCSEs coming for them next year and A levels that that's important to focus for them. Where there are video lessons, and these are often by the tutors that start in the morning, so they will be scheduled. We're asking that our teachers put everything onto the calendar so that they can see. So, for example, here is a lesson that I've been copied into, which is by Miss Harris, who is one of our science teachers. And so on Friday morning, I know that any student in 8LSC2 has a call there scheduled with Miss Harris for half an hour, and they can just join that by clicking there. So their calendar will look slightly less busy than mine. Mine is just pulling in everything that I'm up to, but that's what it will look like, and it will show them what they need to do and how to do it to join that call. Okay, so hopefully that will just give them an opportunity to catch up either with their tutor in the morning or with their class teachers as well. So it's an option as well that we're going to be looking into, sending out a Teams assignment report to parents. We're just testing that with some staff parents to see what that looks like, but we're aiming for that to be a weekly report that just updates you on the work that's been set, and also to give you an understanding of what work has been submitted. We're quite aware that sometimes the students are doing the work, but they're not just doing that last activity to put it up for the teacher to see. So you'll be able to see that and speak to them about it. But hopefully that's an opportunity to have a look and see where the students are finding their work and where you can see it, so that you can prompt them in what they're doing. So I'm going to pass over to Louise, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the teaching and learning aspect.
Thank you. And to begin with, we'd just really like to congratulate our students. It's been 8 weeks now that we've been working remotely, and you really do have to sustain your motivation over that time. We all find that, because it's very different not having that face-to-face contact. So we really want to congratulate any students that are listening now, and also, of course, to you parents, because we do know what an enormous difference it makes in terms of motivation and engagement if you are there with them every step of the way, not micromanaging them and not doing the work for them, but just encouraging them to get on and press on with their work when they might not necessarily be keen to do that. So thank you very much to all of our parents as well, and we really appreciate your support. As do your students, as do your children, sorry, because that's what they tell us in terms of when they give us feedback, that you're keeping them going. So thank you. Again, well done for the independent nature of the work that you're doing. We have asked students before, we've talked about Brain, Book Buddy and Boss, you'll remember from the last meeting, to try and encourage that independence. Please do continue with that approach, but of course, like Claire's just shown us, if you want to communicate with your teacher, you can easily communicate with them in the posts in Teams, and also with your peers if you have questions where the peers might be able to step in and help as well. Do use the team posts, but of course you are able to email teachers as well if you need to. So we're going to just briefly look at the plans again. Is that all right, Claire, if you can project those? I know you did that yesterday and it was really helpful. So on the midterm plans, we have a new section at the top and we have a new section at the bottom. And the section at the top is to encourage review of learning. So here we've got on the left the key points from last half term, and they are the absolute kind of clear objectives that the students were learning. And on the right, we've got some generic suggestions and also sometimes something specific. I noticed computing's got something about Python in there that you could be reviewing. So sometimes it's very specific or it's quite general, because we know that by going back and reviewing your learning and talking about it and having a space in between and going back, it's more likely to get into your long-term memory if you do that. So that's why the review's at the top. And then we've got at the bottom here, additional work, extension tasks. We do encourage you to look at those if you are finishing, or if your child is finishing their work early, because each subject has put a really good range of activities, suggestions, wider reading, wider learning, which is going to be very important for building knowledge over time of the different extension or additional activities that children could do. So please do bear that in mind when your child's working. we have encouraged you to consider how you manage your workload for our children, for our students. If it's over 50 minutes, we would say that you stop, of course, and you contact your teacher if there's a problem. If you've not managed to complete all of the work, you do what you can in the 50 minutes. But we know one size doesn't fit all, and we have had parents say that their children finish their work quite quickly. So it is worth looking at those additional tasks if you want to supplement the learning. And Miss Alsop is going to talk to you shortly about routine and structure. We are encouraging the students to stick to their timetable as much as possible, like we did before, because on the whole that was working really well. And then to parents, just the same 2 priorities, please, that we asked of you last time that we think has really helped. And the first one being, please do continue to check in with your child about the completion of work. Like where Claire showed you, are they completing their assignments? Are they meeting their deadlines? That's really helpful to keep them on top of their work. And then secondly, if you do find time, if you've got a spare 10 minutes in the evening, to just ask your child what they've learnt today, maybe some specific questions you could ask them if they say they've been learning, for example, if it was Python, which was the example from computing we just saw. Just probe them a little bit, ask some questions, get them to just talk for a minute perhaps about their learning, because that's going to really help them get it into their long-term memory. So that's everything from me. I did pick up a question that just flashed up as I was talking about the video lessons. Just to say, it's not that we don't want everybody to give video lessons, because of course we know the value of those video lessons, but it's not always going to be possible because of circumstances and because of access to IT. And of course we have our emergency school open, where we've got staff that are staffing emergency school as well. So it's not as simple as just being able to offer everything. We know it helps for the contact with the students, but just to reassure you that all of the students are following the same curriculum and getting different types perhaps of delivery, but it is the same consistent curriculum. And also we know, we've looked at the research, there's some research available now about remote learning, and there are other methods such as annotated PowerPoints that are really beneficial for learning, and also video lessons where there might be a commentary about the learning, where you would have the teacher in the top right hand corner of the screen. You've probably seen that from some subjects. Certainly the heads of year are doing their video bulletins like that. That is also a very effective way to be learning, to have the face-to-face. So it is really down to circumstances that it is simply very difficult to offer that for all students, but we are encouraging it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lou. And I'm going to pass over to Rachel now, who's just going to talk a little bit about progress check.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. You might well remember in the long ago days from September and October, when you would have got the school calendar, that had things been normal, about March and April time, you would have received the normal progress check for your son or your daughter. Now, obviously, given the changes that have happened since then, and the fact that we are all unable to work alongside your child as we normally would in the classroom, we can't quite send a progress check home that reports on exactly the same things as we normally would, because it wouldn't really be valid or appropriate to report on attainment at the moment. But we do want to give you some feedback about how your son or your daughter has worked and has engaged over these months when we've been shut. So towards the end of term, and I'll give you the exact date in a moment, you will get a piece of information home. We think at the moment it's going to be called the Summer 2020 Subject Engagement Check. And what you'll have on that piece of information is from each of your child's teachers, a statement about how well they've engaged in the work that they've been set. And by that I mean how well they've completed the work, how well they've handed in the work that's been requested of them. And so you'll see one of 4 possibilities for each one of those subjects, either that your child has engaged well, which is obviously what we are hoping for, or that they have engaged in a way that has been appropriate, or that they have engaged more sporadically over these months, or that they have not engaged. So those are the 4 different possibilities that you'll see for each one of your subjects. And I would just like to take this opportunity to reiterate that you will get that information for every single one of the subjects that your child currently studies in Year 8, because those subjects go on right until the end of Year 8, and there is no dropping of subjects or anything else. So obviously we need your son and your daughter to be engaged in every single one of their subjects this year. Now, the reason that we're going to give you that information is threefold. So partly it is for you, obviously, to know really clearly whether or not your child has engaged in a way that is going to be helpful for them as they move on into Year 9 and continue their studies. Secondly, it also enables people like Ms. Alsop, our head of year, to be able to congratulate those students who are working so hard in such difficult circumstances to do everything that's being asked of them and to keep their interest and their engagement and their studies going. So we really want the chance, like we normally would with a progress check, to be able to see which students have done brilliantly and to say a huge well done to them, even more so than normal. And the third reason for collecting that information is so that it can be passed on to your child's Year 9 teachers next year, so that they have that information about how well your child was able to engage whilst the school was not operating as it normally would. Please be reassured that if there is a reason that stops your child being engaged for a day or two, they're not very well, you have an IT explosion at home, you don't have to worry, you don't have to think this is going to impinge negatively on the feedback you get at the end of term. It really is a piece of information about the whole of these well, in fact, 4 or 5 months by the time we get to the end of term. So please don't worry about that. And if there is a bigger, longer term issue, then probably you've already told us. Obviously, if anything happens from now on in that we need to know about, as ever, just to emphasise to let us know that information. And then that will come home to you on Tuesday the 16th of July, which gives you a few days then to get in touch if it raises any questions or any feedback that you would then like to give us. Thank you very much.
Rachel, maybe you would just kindly reference to a question that's come in. Will there be any form of end of year assessments, e.g. open book examinations, just to tag onto the back end of the progress check? Thank you.
Of course. So again, normally we would have had a Year 8 exam week, and for many reasons that is not going to go ahead, because of course it's just not possible to run examinations when children are at home with a variety of IT times that they can access everything, and all of those issues that you will understand come into remote working. What teachers are concentrating on is ongoing assessment all the time, making sure that they are checking that your child is understanding the work that's going on, but also that the work that they're setting and the information they're requesting back from your child is highlighting any areas that they are struggling with and that they will be finding hard, and that information will inform the planning for next term. So no, there will not be a sort of formalised open book exam period this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm just going to ask Mrs. Simmons to step in here and just answer a few of the questions that have come up before we move over to Mrs. Alsop. So, Leanne, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I've noted down 4 questions, all completely different, that I'll endeavour to answer for you. The first one I noticed was a question about furloughing teachers. The DfE asked schools not to furlough any staff whatsoever, because all schools continue to be funded because we're public bodies. And teachers have been fully engaged in work, albeit in a very different environment at home. So they've been setting all of the work, but also assessing all of the work for all of the classes and all of the year groups that they teach. They've also been working out what's called the centre assess grades for Year 11s and Year 13s, where all teachers have had to work on statistical models to put forward the results that we think Year 11 and Year 13 students get. So there's been an awful lot of work for school staff, although it probably doesn't feel it because we've only got 40 children on site at the moment, but colleagues have also been coming in and supporting that emergency provision that we're also putting on. So no furloughing whatsoever, and that was the government's clear advice to schools. Second question that came up was about September. We just don't know at the moment. We have absolutely no idea what that will look like. We, like you, I'm sure, want nothing more than things to return to as normal as possible for September, because we want to welcome children back. We worry about isolation. We worry about children then not wanting to come back to school because of just getting used to being at home. And most of us have got children at home, and we see it for ourselves. Sometimes I have to coax my son out of his bedroom. And that's not the way we'd want to be. We want children to return to what they had. So whatever we plan, and it will have to obviously be completely within the guidelines, as it has been all the way along, it will be an endeavour to try and get to as normal as possible. But we don't know, and unfortunately we don't know when we're going to know either. So bear with us, I would say, and as soon as we have more information, we'll be rolling that out to you. And we started some very gentle scenario planning, but until we've got a greater idea, we could draw up 100 schemes and then none of them could be of any use. So please bear with us with that. On the subject of next year, a couple of people have asked about options. For year 8 going into year 9, there is a very, very small amount of changing of options, very, very small. So what students do is they look over their year 7 and their year 8, where they've had a very broad experience of lots of creative subjects, so the design technology subjects, art, drama, music, those types of subjects, and they start to specialise a little bit with the idea that they're sort of on their journey towards their GCSEs. So next year they do fewer of those creative options, but they do more of the ones that they've chosen. So there's a slight narrowing. And then the idea is that normally children will go on and take those subjects at GCSE. They don't have to, there's no compulsion, but normally if they have an interest in that subject, that's what they want to go on and pursue. So that's why they do a bit more of it in year 9 to get them ready for the GCSE. So what will happen before the end of this term is that we will have another special Zoom meeting take you through that sort of slightly narrowing of options, but we do recognise, of course, children haven't had quite the experience of all those creative subjects during year 8 that they would normally have had, but that will be up and coming. But it's a very small narrowing. There's not very much option choice. Their curriculum won't look very different for year 9. It then looks very different when you go into year 10 into the GCSE year. And then the final bit was the question about temporary classrooms. At the moment, secondary schools have been asked to have some face-to-face contact, but only some, secondary to remote learning for year 10 and year 12. And we have been told we cannot have more than 25% of that cohort on site at any one time. So in fact, the rooming isn't a big problem at the moment for us. More the difficulty is the government's understandable constraints on not wanting too many children in at once because of their concerns about community transition when those children are then going out of school and stopping in the shop on the way home or seeing each other socially, and that the amount of mixing that actually happens when children start to transact their life a bit more ordinarily. So temporary classrooms wouldn't matter as long as we have got a condition on us that we can only have a certain percentage of children on site. So that's more the issue for us at the moment. If that were to change and more accommodation would be helpful, then of course we would be looking at all sorts of solutions. I did see a school yesterday that had sort of a yurt thing going on their fields, but I think that might be a bit nippy in the autumn, so I'm not sure about that. But again, watch this space.
Thanks very much for picking those up, Leanne, and if anything else comes in, I'll come back to you if that's okay. But I'll pass over to Mrs. Alsop, a familiar face to many of you.
Thank you, Miss Adams. Hello and welcome to everyone who I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet. I'm Mrs. Alsop, I'm head of year 8. I'd like to start by sort of reiterating what the others have said, and a massive thank you to all the parents and carers for supporting and engaging and motivating the children over the last couple of weeks while we've been off school. I'd like to start with something really positive, and I had the opportunity to speak to a cohort of children and get some feedback. So these are the kind of things that the children have said when I asked for some feedback. They're feeling more confident with using Teams, which is really good. Obviously the last time we met, children were getting used to using Teams, sort of becoming aware how they access and submit work on Teams is when now they feel much more confident, and they're even using the chat on Teams to sort of communicate with their teachers, which is brilliant. Just a little reminder, especially if there are children watching, when they're trying to address their teachers on Teams using the chat or on general, they do have to tag the teacher, so to make sure that if they've got sort of an urgent question, if they just write, for example, like at Mrs. Allsop, that question will come directly to the teacher. Another thing they said is they're enjoying the variety of tasks that are being set across the different subjects. So, you know, it's quite hard working from home and sort of addressing all different types of learners and the different activities you can set. So it was really nice to hear that they're enjoying the different things that are being set. They spoke highly of the extracurricular activities that are still being given and sort of issued while we've been off school. So, for example, house competitions have continued, and one child in particular said every week that they are watching Mrs. Mitchell's cooking sort of channel, they called it, and sort of trying out the things on there. So yeah, lots and lots of really positive feedback from the extracurricular activities. Quite a few of the children spoke about their communication with tutors. So tutors are reaching out every day to their tutor groups, and this is through Teams. So they've got a separate chat, a separate group where they're setting activities, they're sharing messages, yeah, and there's lots of sort of games and things that their tutors are engaging with their tutor groups, which is really nice. And something that one or two mentioned, that it's really nice to sort of still engage with things that are going on around the world that are not necessarily about coronavirus or being off school. So we've spent quite a lot of time looking at Mental Health Awareness Week, which was a few weeks ago. And for example, today is Empathy Day. So the wonderful Mrs. Lakin made a really nice video that I shared with the children this morning that just explains what empathy is and how they can sort of do their bit and show empathy towards one another. And I think especially at a time like this, showing empathy is what makes the world go round. And talking about Mrs. Lakin has once a week been posting a sort of club for children to sort of engage in conversation, and she's been doing games through Teams, and that's on a sort of once a week basis. So if your child does want to get involved in that, then get them to check the tutor messages and they'll be able to see when that takes place. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is the importance of routine. I touched briefly upon this in the last Zoom meeting we had, but I obviously communicate with the children and lots of parents and carers every day, and the importance of routine comes up. But I think, you know, sticking to a routine is really important. As a sort of adult, I get up each morning and I get myself ready, I have my breakfast, and I'm ready to sit down and work at a normal time. Now I'm sort of sticking to my normal timetable. I'm taking breaks, so taking break and taking lunchtime, and, you know, I might walk the dogs around the block, and it's really nice. I live in Ringwood, so I often see sort of, you know, the children out and about, but to sort of break down the day and find a routine that works for them. Now, I've said to lots of parents and carers that the children should still be following their normal timetable, so doing all their lessons each day. It's really important that they stick to the broad curriculum, so that they're sticking to core as well as other subjects. Again, using their homework diary, so, you know, each week writing down the lessons that they have, writing down the assignments that are due, really sort of using that resource like they are at school, and that will really help them to keep on top of deadlines. And to only spend 50 minutes per lesson. Now, lots of parents and carers have got in contact to say that, you know, sometimes children are finished really quickly, or that it's taking them longer than 50 minutes. Please only allow them the time that the lesson would allow. And as Lou said, there are resources online. If your child does finish early, then there are challenges and sort of extra resources that are available to challenge children. And something I've sort of spent quite a lot of time doing with the year group is talking to them about hobbies. So when the school day is done, to then have something in the evening to do, so whether that is sort of reading, whether it's doing a Zoom with friends. I've seen now the restrictions are different. They are able to sort of socialise, so to really make sure that they are being sociable and making the most of their evenings when they're not working. What's been really nice is lots of the children have been sharing with me what they've been doing in the evenings and at weekends. And I'm not sure if I said this last time, but we've had Zoom meetings where children are meeting up on Zoom and they're doing like a cookery class. They're doing quizzes. They had one girl who actually sent me her ballet exam that she did virtually, which is brilliant, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, just to sort of encourage children to spend their time wisely in the evenings and weekends. The Positive Place website, which I touched upon last time, is a really nice resource to get lots of like family ideas. So if you're sort of struggling for ideas, obviously they're at home all the time, then look on the Positive Place website because there's lots of nice activities on there. As you will have known, we're using Teams for tutor activities. So they are, as well as their class sort of teams, there's a tutor team activity, and then there's also a year group teams. So I'm posting every day on the Year 8 tutor teams page, and their tutors are communicating with them as well. You should have received an email on Friday that sort of acknowledged that tutors will be making contact from now until the end of the school year. So you should expect 2 phone calls from tutors. Now, I know some tutors have sort of been super proactive and have spoken to quite a lot of you already. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. All it is a supported phone call. It's just to check that your child is doing okay and sort of just touch base with you and the student. So yeah, don't be alarmed when you see sort of a no number come up, because it is just your tutor, your child's tutor, getting hold of them and seeing if there's anything we can do to support. And yeah, just on that last note, if there is anything that sort of comes up after this meeting that you feel you sort of need any help with, then please feel free to get in contact with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sam, for that. And just to reiterate that the email that went out to parents was suggesting that tutors will be making contact week beginning Monday the 8th. So it'll be any day this week, which fits in with their teaching commitments and timetable as well. So sorry if you read that as being you'd got a call yesterday. But if by the end of the week you haven't heard, then please do email schoolclosure@ringwood.hants.sch.uk, and we'll make sure that that message gets to your child's tutor, if you could just put for the attention of, and we can reschedule that. I appreciate from some of the comments that if you're working and you're busy during the day as well, receiving a call in the daytime might not be easy. So we will endeavour obviously to arrange contact at a time that is mutually agreeable for yourself and your child's tutor. So we will work with you on that. So thank you for your patience, and that's something that that the tutors are going to be working through this week. I just wanted to finish off by adding a couple of points with regards to mental health and wellbeing. And I know Mrs. Alsop has alluded to that. The government put out some guidance for parents back on the 21st of April, which talks quite a bit about how we have to look after our own mental health as adults to ensure that we can support our young people through this really difficult time. Being able to talk to them about the information that they see and that they're receiving. We're having a lot of media information coming into our homes, and it's about how we support children to assimilate that information so that they can make clear sense of it, really. And that's about having that dialogue with you, their parents and carer, to make sure that they feel that they can talk about it and are well listened to support their mental health. There's been a lot in the guidance as well about a healthy diet. We know how easy it is to go to the biscuit barrel when you're just passing through the kitchen. We're all struggling the same, but how obviously the concentration will dwindle with the sugar rush that students have. So just talking to them about that and looking after their health and well-being, both mentally and physically, is important. And as a school, we've always advocated for the 60 minutes of physical activity during the day. So making sure that they're getting out and clearing their heads, doing something totally different from their academic study to just feel physically active and being outside is really important. We've seen this last week quite an upturn in e-safety issues that we've been dealing with the school, as the school. And just a reminder to you as parents that having those healthy conversations about use of technology, be it social media accounts through mobile phones, is so important. Sometimes we can find that our young people get themselves caught up in things that they don't know how to unpick, and they need your help in knowing that they can come to you and talk to you, because of course they don't have the other avenues in school where they might have come and spoken maybe to a member of the safeguarding team or to one of our emotional support workers. So please do have those open conversations. We do sometimes find that children, make mistakes, and our role is to support them to talk about it and help them to unpick it. And if you find anything that you are concerned about, maybe through Instagram or Snapchat, accounts that are contacting your children unsolicited in their nature, then please do contact us, safeguarding@ringwood.hants.sch.uk, or you can also contact 101 and report that to the police, because it's important that if there are people out there who are making contact to our children, that we do report that, because the greater the number we have, the more likely that action will be taken. You can also go to the CEOP website if you'd like to find out more information about how to manage Instagram, Snapchat and other social media that you might not be as familiar with as your children. But my best advice is to speak to them about it, be open, be calm in your communication with them, and a reminder that we would always advocate a curfew of 8 o'clock in the evening and no phones in their bedrooms overnight, just to stop anything that could be coming in and disturbing their sleep, because we know also that's going to stop them being able to focus and study well in the following days. If we can be of any help, then you know where we are, and we would always be happy to support you with anything that we can. At the end of last academic year, we launched the Think Ninja website, which is it's actually an app, not a website, that the students can download to a phone or a tablet, which is a mental health support, which has been developed by Hampshire with CAMS, and the children can access that and work with it. There is sort of an AI built into it so that students can answer some questions, and then if they feel that it needs to be triaged to somebody to speak to the children, then they will do that. So do have a look at that. Think Ninja is what it's called, and hopefully if necessary can make use of that. And that is for positive well-being. That's not only when you're feeling low, that's for all the time, and you can use that at any point. So please do use all available resources, and we will be here to support you, whatever it is that you need in terms of the e-safety element, as well as the safeguarding. Look at our safeguarding pages, look at our wellbeing pages on our website, there's information there, and we will be sharing the video of tonight's session. So if you know that there are families that you can't see as participants tonight, do let them know. It will be posted on our YouTube channel tomorrow morning, and they'll be able to catch up with that, this communication then. We thank you very much for all of your contributions. Your information that you provide through the chats does form our next steps, and we've taken on board things that you had mentioned previously around the volume of work, and we're trying to make that so that that's perhaps a little bit more tailorable to the student, and also looking at ways that we can maintain contact with you, which is why we've built in the tutor contacts, so that your child will have contact in the next couple of weeks, twice, as Sam said, just to touch base, so that we can be as well prepared as we can be for September, whatever that looks like. But we thank you very much for your support and your encouragement to our young people. We miss them as much as they miss us, and school is a strange place with only 43 in it today, but we continue to work with you, and we would hope to see you one more time on a Zoom call before we break up, so that we can hopefully have some information ready for you about what September will look like, and also a bit of guidance around the options choices for that creative option, so that the students feel comfortable and confident about what Year 9 will look like as they embark into that. 6 more weeks to go. Thank you, and if there's anything else we can do, then please do let us know. We're here to support you. So have a good rest of your evening, and thank you to all the students who are online as well. Take care.
Oh,